I think the first time that I came to depute about funding cuts in this school board was 25 years ago. There's been 30 years of cuts to this school board, 30 years of funding shortfalls and 30 years of cuts. And at one time I had calculated all of those. I've got it somewhere on a hard drive. I'll look for it, see if I can find it. Part of it was on research that Shelley Laskin published in 2001 that showed the first 6 years of the school board and all the funding shortfalls. 2002, it was an $80 million shortfall. 2010, it was $110 million, which was about 3% of the budget. 2011, it was $50 million. 2012 was another $50 million. There were a couple years where there was no shortfall. We did not actually have to make cuts to school boards. But basically, since this board, since our taxes, our local taxes were taken over by the provincial government in 1995, this school board has faced 30 years of funding shortfalls from the provincial government and 30 years of cuts to staff programs and services. And that's where we are today. And this government, this new government, just re-elected, is handing this board, as I understand, a $70 million shortfall and expecting you to make cuts. And the things that are coming up as potential cuts are swimming pools, itinerant music instructors, outdoor education. These are essential components of education. Yes, staff. Our schools have been decimated by 30 years of cuts, and we just can't keep making cuts. And I actually got involved in this as a parent to fight for cuts. And after 10 years as a parent fighting for cuts, in 2010 I ran as trustee, because somebody said, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. So I figured I needed a seat at the table. And I did this for 8 years. Now I'm an MPP, so I've been fighting for education funding for 25 years. I was in the House this morning. The new Minister of Education, Calandra, was talking about the boards and fiscal mismanagement by the boards. And this is the diversion. This is the narrative that they're trying to create. And this is why they're sending in a financial advisor to create a false narrative that the problem with education funding lies with the school boards when it clearly lies with the provincial government and the $1,500 per student cut since this government was first elected in 2018. $1,500 per student per year cut. There are groups out there, corporate groups, that look at the $30 billion that we spend on education every year, and they look at this as an opportunity to generate profit. They look at the real estate that is held by the Toronto District School Board, the 600 schools, and they look at that as an opportunity to generate profit. And this is what this government is facilitating. They're looking at ways to turn over our schools to the corporate sector, to the operation of our schools. And as parents, as grandparents, as students, we need to think about, do we want corporations running our schools? I will say my prediction is that within the next couple of years, this government will be introducing charter schools and voucher systems to privatize our system. So my recommendations, based on my years of experience, one is, don't talk about empty schools. There are no empty schools. At least when I was here, there were no empty schools. There were released schools. There were released spaces in schools. The other is that, students are being sacrificed for this privatization agenda. That's what these cuts are about. And the narrative that they are giving about the fiscal responsibility for the crisis lying with the school board, that needs to be countered every time it is said. There's a famous quote, if you tell a lie once, it's a lie. If you tell a lie 1,000 times, it becomes a truth. Every time the government tells the lie that the fiscal responsibility for this crisis lies with the school boards, people need to counter and say, no, it lies with the province. They've been underfunding our schools for 30 years.